had to fight with my son's pediatrician to get the testing to begin with.
What was the fight over?
Well, on the letter they gave us for the TTHMs, they had said that if you have a compromised immune system, you should talk to your doctor. So I went in and spoke with his pediatrician, and the pediatrician wrote me a note saying that because of the compromised immune system that he couldn't consume the water. And every time he had contact with the water, he would break out in these horrible, just horrific rashes to the point where he had to have Benadryl after every bath or before every bath because of how severely he was breaking out. I took a video to show the doctor what his skin looked like before bath and after bath. I mean, you could actually see a water line across his stomach and from the waist down from being submerged in the water. So then the doctor wrote me a note saying that Gavin broke out, his skin breaks out every time he comes in contact with the water. And I went back in for our next visit after the city decided they wanted to start doing lead and copper tests because of the discoloration. And I walked in and the doctor just started going off on me about having an agenda. And, you know, he had been in contact with the city and what he was being told from the city and was completely different than what I was telling him. And that he wasn't going to do anything in regards to my children when it came to the water. And I said, whoa, wait a second. I said, first of all, why are you talking to the city? I didn't give you permission for that. And he had a bunch of documents in his hand. And everything that I tried to hand him, he refused to take from me. And he refused to have my kids tested for lead and copper at this point. It was about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I got my first lead and copper test back from the city. I got a frantic phone call from Mike Lasco with the water department, telling me to make sure that my kids were not drinking this water. If I was making juice, to please make sure I wasn't mixing their juice with this water, to make sure that they were not consuming any of this water because my level was at 104 and they'd never seen a level that high in the city. And that was concerning for them because 15 is the max according to the EPA. So at that point, I called the doctor's office and said, hey, I just found out I have this test. It's at 104 parts per billion. I need lab slips for my kids today. And I was told, I'm sorry, you need to bring that report down to us and we need to wait to hear from the city before we move forward. So I went down to the water department, got a copy of the doctor's office and said, okay, here it is. Give me my lab slips. No, either you're going to order the lab slips today or you're going to give me a letter telling me why you're waiting to hear from the city before you treat my children. And the city I was there for an hour and a half. And then the city actually emailed my doctor and CC'd me into it. And when that happened, 5 minutes later, I had the lab slips for my kids. And I couldn't figure out where they played into this, like why this was such a big deal. And from I figured out that the emergency manager's assistant was actually Ambrose's assistant, and that is the wife of my pediatrician.
So there's the link between your pediatrician and the city of Flint.
When I made that information public to people, she got moved over to Genesee, city of Flint.
Who got moved over?
The emergency manager's assistant.
Oh, the assistant. But the doctor, there was no repercussions on the doctor. Is this normal procedure that the doctor confers with the city and waits for the city to have a seal of approval before they give parents lab slips?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So
we actually wind up going to a dermatologist outside of the city, and that was the one who finally ran the full cabin for us. Then that's the doctors know that he had lead poisoning and anemia from the lead poisoning.
So how can is there anybody that is bringing this doctor to task for what he did at this point in time, or do they pretend like it never happened?
It's a work in progress. It is something that we are working on. A lot of the doctors, though, it wasn't just my family. For the longest time, the doctors in the city would tell you, yes, I believe it's the water, but we're not allowed to put anything in writing. I mean, I can't tell you how many people told us that.
From whose position, who's told them they are not allowed to put something in writing? I mean, who's the grand authority over the doctors? I thought their first responsibility was the care of their patients.
That's the $1 million question. I mean, nobody knows that. We weren't given answers.
So they basically had a gag order specifically on doing lead tests.
They order on saying that people were having any kind of issues from the water.
It sounds almost like a conspiracy. How can you get doctors to agree to that?
I don't know. I'm not one of those people. I don't know. I was one of those people who wouldn't shut up, so I can't answer that for you.
Yeah, I mean, that just sounds like something out of a B movie that would never happen in real life.
It did.
I mean, we're talking doctors. They're educated. They went to medical school. They have a practice. They're seeing patients. And then they are given some directive, you can't do this. And everybody complies. What do? Take away their medical license? I mean, there wasn't anybody, there were 0 doctors to stand up to this advisory, I guess.
Well, part of the problem was the lies from the MDEQ and from the city of Flint on the water, and the fact that all the testing that was coming back from the EPA was saying that we were in compliance. So at this point, we were considered crazy whack jobs who didn't know what we were talking about, we were troublemakers, and everything was coming back. And so at that point, it was, we have to prove that there is a problem. They're not listening to, and that's when I started talking with Miguel from the EPA.